Hello. I know you guys haven't heard from me in forever. I know I said I was going to keep this vlog updated, but I totally disappeared for a while. Let me see. Hold up. This is a totally spontaneous video. I'm about to get on YouTube to see when the last time I actually did a video. I was actually just playing with my new toys. I had bought a new ring light and a new magnetic stand because Instagram in the middle of the night, I guess. But I don't know why I bought that when I just moved to Paris and I don't have an agent, and God knows how long it'll take me to get an agent when I'm there. But anyways, I have disappeared for a very long time, and I'm looking on this now. Oh, it's not been too bad. It's only 4 months. But man, do I have a story for you. Okay, I'll tell you why I disappeared for a long time. Because I have not been, I have been buried in studies for the last, since April. Well, actually from April to July. And then also when I was back in Atlanta. So this is going to be a long, boring update. So if you don't want to hear an update, feel free to just not watch this one. But if you want to know what happened to me in the last few months, I'm going to share the story. So long story short, I moved to Paris on a entrepreneur work visa. And so my plan was to be a fitness instructor since I'm a level 2 Legree instructor. I'm a level 1 gyrotonic instructor, level 1 low pressure fitness instructor, and also almost done with my classical Pilates intermediate program, teacher training program. That didn't sound right, but I think you caught the drift. And so I was thinking, oh, this will be great. I'll just come to France and teach fitness because I love fitness and I love teaching, and it'll be a great transition. Well, while I was in Paris during January and February doing my scouting trip, because my first visa was turned down, so that turned out to be my scouting trip, because in order to apply for a visa, you have to have the travel dates that you're going to go, the itinerary, the hotels, the airfare, everything is paid for and ready so that they know you're serious before you can even apply for a visa. So I had applied for a visa to move to France in January. And so when I got my first attempt turned down, I said, I already have everything planned. So I'm just going to take a 6-week scouting trip to France. So I did 2 weeks in Paris, as you guys know, and then I did 4 weeks at l'Institut de Français, and which was wonderful. And then I went back the very tail end of February, early March, and I reapplied, this time with the help of an amazing lawyer. I'm happy to share her info with anyone who'd be interested. And so she helped me put everything together, tons of stuff that I didn't know I needed because it wasn't clear on the website. My first exposure to systems of France. So it was a lot thicker, my visa application, the second time, and I got approved, which is wonderful because I also had signed up for a course. It was a little sloppy, but it worked out. I had signed up for a course, Rewind. January, February, I was in France. I take Legree classes everywhere I go. So obviously I was chatting with Legree instructors in France, and they said, oh, you need a CQP course. And then I messaged some other Legree studios and I said, hey, I'm getting ready to move to France and I'm a level 2 instructor. And they said, oh, that's great. Do you have a CQP certification? I'm like, what is the CQP certification? So finally, during the month I was in the South, I went to a lovely studio in Nice, And the owners there told me that they are familiar with a program that was specifically for Legree instructors that is condensed to 3 months, and it starts in April. So I said, oh my gosh, that's amazing. So I instantly went on the website. I found them on Instagram, went on the website, signed up, paid the money, had no idea what I was getting into, but I just figured since I need to have this CQP certification to do this, I guess I need to sign up, and I signed up. So, not knowing what I was in store for, I then went home, reapplied. Thank God I got accepted. My visa got accepted because then I received an email from the formation of the CQP certification, the people who were hosting the certification course, and they said you do have to be here for the test in. So there was a pre-test that I had to pass in order to even take the course, and I had to be there in person, which at this point I thought I could still take the course on Zoom from the States because I wasn't sure if I was going to get my second visa approved. So I had no idea what I was signing up for. All I knew then after that email was that I had to be there in person for the pretest. So because of how things fell, I had to cancel some plans. I was originally going to go to a wedding, visit my sister, all in April, but instead I took a one-way ticket. After I got my visa approved, I took a one-way ticket in April because the course started in early April and the pretest was just the week before. So I made it to Paris a couple days before the pretest. And turns out the pretest was a complete day where you had to teach in French and all this other stuff. I don't even remember. I think it was so long ago in April, so that was 5 months ago. I don't even remember exactly what they required of us. Oh yes, it was the like a mock safety teaching, teaching a class type thing and making sure you had all the safety components, I think it was. I don't even remember. It was all a blur because after that, once I found out that I passed the pretest and qualified to take the course, they said, well, these are the days you'll have to be here in person for class. So thank God it was a one-way ticket because I had thought maybe I could fly in for the pretest and fly out and do all this stuff in California. And so it's a good thing I changed my mind and did a one-way ticket because the next week I was in class Monday through Thursday or Monday through Friday. I have no idea. But before that, they told me that all my life-saving skills from the States does not translate. So even though I'm a BLS, PALS, and ACLS certified, cardiac life-saving stuff, none of that counted in France. So I had to, within 4 days, take a full day course in Parisian French in basically a BLS course. And so I did that on, I believe it was a Sunday, the day before I had to start class on a Monday. So I jumped into the deep end. And at that point, I'm still not. I'm definitely not fluent, but then I was brand new to France. My French was intermediate, but like from classrooms, and definitely not Parisian French because they speak a lot faster. They slur all the words together and they use a lot of shortened words like abbreviations, kind of like in LA when we talk totes awesome, or totes jelly, things like that, but in French. So I was never going to know what they were talking about. Okay, so, and I'm not adding any pictures, so this is just me talking for a long time in this camera. So I'm not sure how many people are actually going to watch this, but Anyways, so it turned out, long story, not too, kind of short, hopefully. It was 3 months, and I calculated the hours. It was a total of 600 hours because there was over 100 hours that I had to watch at home online, and there was about, I think, no, there's got to be more than two. Like there was like 300 hours. I think 300 hours of class time is what I figured out in those 3 months. And then halfway through, well, not quite halfway through, maybe a month, 3 weeks in, I find out that I also have to do a 150-hour internship, which I didn't quite understand for the longest time. All I knew was they kept on asking me, do you have your internship set up? Do you have your internship set up? So I had to find my own internship where I would do 150 hours. I wasn't exactly sure what I was doing for 150 hours, but I was so grateful because there was a Pilates studio, Le Cercle, and the owner, Hélène, was lovely. She welcomed me and she said, absolutely, you can do your internship with me. She actually went to the Pilates Center. She got her certification at the Pilates Center, which is where I'm getting my classical Pilates teacher training certification. And so she was wonderful. She welcomed me in. She had never taken an internship before for this, taken an intern before for this CQPIF. Because there's different kinds of CQP certifications, I found out later. And apparently I signed up for the hardest one, CQPIF. So, so she welcomed me in and I had a place, and I figured it would be wonderful because I still have some hours I had to finish. And since I left so abruptly from the States, I had a ton of observation hours. I had a bunch of practice hours. I still do have some. I'm not done yet because I've still been nonstop. But I thought I'd kill two birds with one stone, which was lovely because I did. I cranked out a lot of hours, required hours for my TPC certification. Anyways, back to this certification course. We were in class. All the lectures were in Parisian French, like I said. I was the only Anglophone. There were 18 people signed up, I think. And all of them understood French. And I was the only one flailing. I mean, really flailing. By the afternoon, in the mornings, because usually the mornings were anatomy, physiology type classes, at least I'm familiar with all of that stuff and feel comfortable with that subject, so I could kind of understand what was happening. So I think I was tracking maybe 30% of the time. But that being said, the French don't always use Latin words for their anatomy and medical terminology. So there was a lot of vocabulary I had to learn in addition to making sure I had everything down for that. But 30%, I mean, that's pretty good. First time moving into Paris. And the teacher, Anthony, was lovely. He spoke very clearly, very articulately. He was very logical in his presentation, and I was able to follow him because his slides were great and all that stuff. Loved him. Then in the afternoons, we would have lectures about all the other stuff, I had no idea what was happening. I mean, there were lectures where I literally did not understand anything for 3 hours. I just sat there and prayed that something was absorbing, even though I knew I was not understanding anything. And they were talking about legal stuff, about like administrative stuff. They were talking about the internship, and I think it was like the third week when I realized that like I could understand the words you have to do a report that's going to be at least 30 pages. So then I'm sitting in class and all I hear is a 30+ page report is due. And at that time I had just over 2 months and I didn't even really understand what the report was supposed to be about. But I clocked that, put that in the back of my head, kept on going. And then so many things I could tell you guys, but I don't want to paint too grim, too scary a picture for those of you who want to follow in my footsteps. I don't know if anyone will want to follow after this. Okay. So, I was able to translate everything. I studied every single day. I had absolutely no life outside of classes and then studying. So I would wake up early, commute 45 minutes outside of Paris. It was in Boulogne-Billancourt. And so it was like a 45+ minute commute each way. And so many days we were in class from 9 to 5. And then I come home, eat a quick dinner, study some, and maybe try to watch some of those online lectures. And on the days that I didn't have class, I basically would go to Le Cercle for my stage, my internship, and spend 6, 7, 8 hours a day on my days off, just hanging out at the Pilates studio, which it wasn't until towards the end that I realized kind of what I was supposed to be doing during my stage. I didn't understand. I mean, I thought I read through all the slides because I had to translate all the slides and try to follow all the directions and figure out what was happening. And there was things coming at me from all different directions. And there were multiple programs I had to log on. And it just felt, I just was a little overwhelmed, especially because I have ADHD. So none of this helped. But about 2 weeks. And then also we had to, lots of afternoons, we were also learning how to teach, I call it Jane Fonda aerobics. It's actually Les Mills, technically, aerobics. But it pretty much felt to me like old school Jane Fonda, Richard Simmons type stuff that I haven't done since the 80s. So we were learning how to choreograph a 45-minute cardio class. We were also learning how to, so we were all responsible for making our own 45-minute cardio class and then our own unique 45-minute strength training class and then another 45-minute stretching class. And more on that more on that. I'm just going to go into the 2 weeks before the final week of exams. So this is serious, guys. It was a whole week of exams. It was actually Monday through Thursday because half of our cohort dropped out, almost half. I would say 9 people out of 18, 8 or 9 people out of 18 kind of disappeared. I can understand why. A couple of them left early to start studios that they had already planned. And I'm not sure. People just kind of didn't keep coming. So there's that. So 2 weeks before, we had a mock exam. It's called the examen blanc, the white exam, which is is basically a practice exam. And I walked in knowing that, of course, I needed my computer because the first portion of this test was going to be on our own personal laptops in a very secure online platform where you're taking the test and there's 20 questions for each subject, anatomy, nutrition, physiology, and you had to get at least a 75% in each and every one. So you can't get more than 5 wrong or else you fail. And you fail one, you fail them all. So I knew that was part one. So I had been studying all of that stuff, learning all sorts of new vocab, like nutrition. I still don't know a lot of the French words for foods, but I learned a lot. So I learned a lot of vocabulary, and I learned a ton of that vocabulary for the anatomy, of course, in French, which is great. It's super helpful. I'm not complaining at all. I think it was a blessing, honestly, that I had to take this course. If I ever teach, that's some foreshadowing for you. Okay, so after the first portion of the multiple choice laptop anatomy, nutrition, physiology exam, then the second part. And the second part, I thought, okay, I'm guessing we're teaching. So I had been stressed out about the teaching portion. But when we finished the first portion, I said, so are we teaching? And the group looks at me and they're like, no, you're giving your 30-minute presentation. What? 30-minute presentation? On what? I had no idea. I had no idea that this was a requirement. I must have missed something big because that was a total surprise. So 2 weeks before the final week of exams, and I find out there's a 30-minute presentation that goes along with this internship. So I thought, okay, I guess I'll just take my, like, the time that I was assigned to do this 30-minute presentation and talk about my internship in French. So I went in there and I was like, this is a classical Pilates studio. It's in this neighborhood. These are the instructors. This is the class schedule. Let me tell you about Pilates. Basically, just kind of talking about the studio. My talk lasted for maybe about 15 minutes. And I thought that was pretty good because, I'm not fluent in French yet. So this is like an improv presentation on this internship. So I was pretty proud of myself, but Laurence, who was the one I had to present to, she is so sweet. She had the funniest poker face because I could tell I wasn't giving her I could kind of tell that I wasn't giving what she was wanting me to give or what I was expected to give. So then she pulls out this grid that I don't remember ever seeing in the mountain of paperwork that they've given us. And this was a grid that said, these are the things that you have to talk about during your presentation. It was the first time that I saw that, and it had all sorts of marketing stuff and all this other stuff. And she was very sweet, and she tried to speak slowly in French so that I would understand each of those lines, which I still didn't after that meeting. I had no idea. So she said, you just go through all the grids and you better make a PowerPoint presentation too. That'll help you because you need all the points you can get. She was very sweet and as helpful as she could be for this poor lost American in the class. All right. So 2 weeks down, not only did I have to study for all of that, then I had to throw together a 30-minute presentation and then also revamp my report because apparently some of that stuff that was talked about, it turns out, I think this is when I found out that it was actually the report specifically was a marketing report. So I don't think I realized until the examen blanc that my stage was specifically a marketing internship. I had no idea. I mean, I literally just went there and I actually did 170 hours. I counted. I did them all. I just didn't know exactly what I was supposed to be doing. which was hilarious. Okay, so I'm going to show you my presentation, my first presentation. Spoiler alert, I failed the first time. It shouldn't be a shock because as you can tell, I really had no idea what was happening. So I was very proud. This is, can you see it? This is my first presentation, my report, and it came along with like a multiple, this is all in French. I was quite proud of myself. This is all fun stuff. Anyone who wants to see it, I do have the hard copy. I could also send you probably the saved if you wanted to see. But this, okay, let me just, it's crazy. I had some charts in there, the SWOT. I had a questionnaire that I sent out. I did a quick retro planning. And then this is the appendix. Basically, this first report was 40 pages. So I was quite proud that I made the minimum over 30, the 30 plus. I was quite proud of that. I mean, this is not my language. I had no idea what was going on. That being said, and then I also had a completely different PowerPoint presentation, and that didn't quite coordinate with this one because there was marketing stuff that I had to talk about, which I totally failed. I mean, I really didn't understand. So the first time around, the tests in July, this report and the presentation, I failed both parts. So that's 2 parts. I did pass the 2 parts that was for the anatomy, physiology, and nutrition. But then for the teaching portion, I failed that too. And let me tell you why. First of all, let me just tell you the test. So first you have to create 45 minutes. 45 minutes of each cardio, strength training, stretching. I know I said that before. Then you had to create a report. You had to write down, oops, sorry, this is double-sided. So write down your sequences in order, all of the cardio, and then all of the strength training, not only all the moves in order, but also what muscles you're using, where your placement, your foot placement, how you execute the movement, what are some security issues, what are some modifications, and you had to all be in order because the jurists who come in to test you have never seen you before and don't know what you're going to do, so they have to be able to see it. So this was about 20, I think it was 28 pages. It was, I think it was like 28 pages typed up, small print. Okay, so, but that's not it. Not only did you have to have it memorized cold, so 45 times 3, you got 2 hours and 15 minutes memorized cold. Then on the testing day, the jurists look at it and say, oh, that's great. Why don't you start on number 7, move number 7 in your cardio, move number 5 in your strength training, and move number 8 on your stretching. Okay, go ahead. So then you had to start in the middle of each of your sequences, remember all the choreography, teach it, and yeah, all that. So basically, I failed that too because for a few reasons. The main reason that I failed it, they said that my cardio was too difficult because I had created a cardio for debutantes, which means beginners, and they said it was too difficult and that I needed to Start simpler, much more simple, much more basic, and layer on instead of starting up here and modifying down. So great advice. I took that. Also, I think the other big reason was because after you do that, after you teach your 45 minutes, 15 minutes of each of your 3 sequences, then you had, I think 10 minutes where you get Q&A. And I mean, some of these questions I didn't quite understand, and I did my best to answer, but I mean, my French is not that good, not yet. So I wasn't able to justify some of answer some of the questions they asked or justify some of the things. I don't quite remember. It was all a blur. So anyways, I failed those 2 parts. So I only passed 2 out of 6. So I was exhausted because this was 3 months, 600 hours shoved in 3 months. Come to find out today that this certification is equivalent to a 2-year college degree. I was saying that it was harder than my anesthesiology board exams. Number one, main reason, it's not my language. And I jumped in before I was ready, I think, language-wise. Totally on me. But I mean, I had no idea. I came on a work visa and I need the CQP to work. So I did what I thought I had to do. Anyways, but yeah, so then I was exhausted and I realized that because most of France takes off vacation July, August, that's not the best time to look for a job anyways. And because I failed, there's really nothing, I had to also, I had so much stuff to do back home. So I ended up taking 6 weeks going back to the States, spending a lot of time cranking out my teaching hours, which I finished my teaching hours for the Pilates Center. So I was able to actually finish testing out the teaching, but I still have some written exams and some other hours I have to finish. So I'm not quite done yet. I should have been doing that this week, but I've been kind of not. And then I also visited friends, visited my sister, did all the things that I was going to do before this course. And so I did fly back 2 weeks before the retests, which were early September. And I thought that was enough time. But I had horrible jet lag going eastbound. I don't think I was right. It took me longer than a week to get myself right. My sleeping and all this stuff, concentration, fuzziness, all of that. And I spent the majority of the 2 weeks redoing the entire marketing report and presentation because I had no marketing in my presentation. I had no marketing in my report because I didn't realize. And I didn't, hold on. Okay, I'm back. I had to blow my nose. It's time for my nighttime allergy med. Anyways, so I spent so much energy almost all of the time before the retest. I'd say 90% of my time was spent on this report. And I had a private tutor by this time because I'd realized that I cannot do this alone. I don't know why I didn't realize that the first go around. I should have probably had a tutor the entire time, but I didn't think about it till a week before the final testing. Like between the fake exam and the real testing, I'm like, oh, maybe I should get a tutor. But thankfully, I found a tutor. She's amazing. And Maureen, she helped me so much. She actually worked for an American company in marketing, which helped me because she helped guide me, number one, with my French, number two, with my marketing plan, and completely helped me change my report and I'm quite proud of it. So even though the cover looks the same, there is all of this, I'm going to show it to you, all of this stuff right here, marketing stuff. So I had a huge project, projet d'animation. I had three different phases. So this is phase 1, and then so like the plan, and then also kind of basically the KPI, the key performance indicators that I had to figure out. Then phase 2, which is like months 3 and 4. This was a 6-month proposed project. And then, hey, I know I'm showing you all this stuff. You can't read it, but I'm super proud of it because it took a lot of time. So I'm super proud. And then I also had to understand memorize all this stuff for the presentation, which I completely redid a whole new PowerPoint presentation with numbers, like with projected numbers and details to the minute details, all the numbers. And so I spent all my time on that. So I did my marketing test, and thank God I passed it. I really did not think I passed it because everything was going smooth and all the work I put in was coming through. But at the very end, because I have for the presentation, you have a 30-minute presentation and then followed by a 10-minute Q&A. I mean, it felt like an interrogation, really. I think you can call it an interrogation. So 10 minutes where they're asking you details about your report and your plan. And at the very end of the 10 minutes, they asked me, so did you do this? And I said, no. They're like, you didn't do any of this? And I said, no. Because it's a 6-month plan and I just created it, and summer, everybody's gone for the summer, so it's not a good time to implement, and it's beginning of September, so now is the time I would start this project. It's a proposed plan. And they just looked at me with that same look that Laurence looked at me with during my first 30-minute improv presentation. They just looked at me with blank disbelief. I can't even explain the expression, but I'm like, oh, this is not good. So I thought I failed that again. Spoiler alert, I did pass it, but they talked about me afterwards because Laurence came up to me and she said, you actually told them you didn't do it? I said, yeah, because it's a 6-month, it's impossible. 6 months. I haven't even been here for 6 months. So anyways, and then for the teaching portion, I did completely revamp my cardio. So I spent the majority of the time kind of redoing and rememorizing the cardio portion. And there wasn't really any complaints about the other portions, so I just kind of kept them the same. And I will admit, I needed to have spent more time probably thinking about them, because it was like the choreography, I messed up several times. Like I would miss a move here or there, and that kind of stuff really matters sometimes to some jurists. So I really should have spent more time on that, but I misgauged my prep time. But anyways, so turns out I failed that portion. So I passed, out of 6 portions, the first time I passed the anatomy, nutrition, physiology. The second time I passed my report and my presentation, the marketing portion of this CQP. And then this time there was, and I'm not even, I wish I was joking, there was one move in my stretching routine that caused me to fail. And it was because it was because of that one move that they mentioned in the two parts that may have been a security, like might have been a security issue, like not security, safety issue, because it was too difficult for my class. It might have been a little dangerous, and those are like automatic fails if they check those parts of the grid. And yeah, so, and they mentioned it in the comments that it was this one move was a problem. And it is a learning lesson, because they also mentioned that I wasn't observing during that time, which I think was also an automatic fail, but it was because I didn't mirror. A lot of times when I'm demonstrating, I was in the back of the room demonstrating, and the class had to turn towards the back of the room. And so instead of mirroring, I was letting them move with me, but I should have mirrored. So that is definitely my learning. That was a good learning point. Was it worth a fail? I mean, was it something that I could have learned along the way? I mean, I kind of think so. Did I think it was fair that I failed because of that one move? It was like a move, it was a move to stretch the TFL. So it was kind of like a supported side plank where you kind of lowered yourself to stretch the TFL. So yeah, I failed that too. And the wild news, because none of this is wild until it gets to here. No, I'm joking. The whole thing was wild. It was a wild trip. But the wild thing is, between the time I started this CQP in April until the time that I failed the retest in September, they have completely restructured the CQP certification. So what that means is I can't just simply retest the portion that I failed. I have to, they've added a new chunk, a new whole complete block of testing that I would have to prepare for. And I have no idea. Laurence did tell me, she did send me information about it. I'd have to translate it and figure it out. But basically my choices at this point, because it's I got a partial certification. My options were to try to wing it and figure out this new block on my own, without any guidance, and just retest again this new block and the stuff I failed. Or what they suggested is that I take the course again, the whole course, so that I can better understand the requirements. And they're right, that would probably be, it would be better to repeat some of the stuff than to just wing it. But that's another potential $4,000, because this one was $3,500. So it wasn't cheap for this 3-month course. And I just priced out the courses the last few days, and it's between, I think the cheapest was $3,200, and that's like, most of them were in the 5,000s. So we will see. I'm hoping I can contact one of these other schools. I love Laurence, And it was a great experience, and I met some great people. But I also did not feel fully supported by all the instructors because not all of them would take the time to translate or explain in a kind, patient way what I was supposed to be doing. So I stumbled through a lot of it, feeling like I was not getting any support from some of the teachers. Anthony was great. He was lovely. He was constantly checking in and translating when necessary. And I understand that not everyone speaks English, but also Parisian French so fast. Some of the folks were not making an effort to slow down or speak formal French, like French that you would learn in school, which is what is what I speak. Anyways, so I'm looking at some of the other schools because I've already taken the CQP with the people I've taken it with, and I think it would be good to change it up and take it at another school. The problem is I've reached out to several schools. I've told them my circumstances, and not a lot of them are willing to work with me, because I would love to just sit in on the portions where I need to figure out this new block and not have to sit through the portions of the class that I've already passed, because I don't have to do the marketing report again. Thank God. I don't know if it's exactly the same, but I mean, I have those parts checked off. I already did the anatomy, physiology, nutrition stuff. So, yeah. So now I'm pivoting because I don't think I can teach because I don't have a CQP certification. So I decided that what I need is to better my French. So I have now signed up, and I was also looking to potentially change my visa from a work visa to a student visa. The reason being, my work visa is for 1 year. It starts in May and ends in May, and the year is half over. And in order to renew the work visa, I have to make basically, like, I want to say close to 30 grand. It's the minimum wage here in France. So because I can't even start teaching now, I have no idea when I would start teaching. And so I was thinking maybe I should just change myself to a student visa. So I did sign up for a year-long course at the Sorbonne. So I am going to be taking a French culture and language course, which I'm very excited, and I think I need it. And I think anyone who moves into a country should be should learn about the culture and should be familiar and increasing their competency with the language. So I'm not dissing that, but it's just a pivot. So I'm pivoting, and I have no idea if I actually am going to switch my visa or not, or if I'm going to work in another capacity. I'm not sure. So that's all TBD. And I guess that's it. That's why I haven't been posting videos, because I really haven't been taking videos or doing much in Paris. Yeah. It's kind of a lie because I've had some visitors and I have done some stuff, but it was just nice to be present and not take pictures and worry about a video. So I kind of just, the last couple weeks, have just chilled. But I'll try to be better. At least now you know why I disappeared for so long. I'm gonna see, this video is like almost an hour long. I'm not sure if it's worth your while for me to upload this. but I might, just for like the one or two of you who may be interested in hearing an update from me from the last 5 months. Okay, I'll try to be better, although now I'll be in school again starting next week, so who knows? Maybe I'll do another video, maybe I won't. No, I will. I'll try. Okay, bye.